This video is not made to endorse or condone account trading in any way. It's against their terms of service, as is endorsing it. This is for entertainment purposes only, and the reason I'm making this video is to try and help people to protect their accounts. If you've got a high-level account on any Supercell game, you're going to want to listen up. There's currently a huge problem with accounts being stolen and traded, and I'm going to try to help make sure that in the case that you do lose your account, you can get it back. And I'll also cover a couple of ways of trying to prevent this. But first, let's take a look at exactly what's going on with Supercell and why hackers, scammers, whatever you want to call them, are seemingly able to steal players' accounts so easily. As we discussed in the last video, Supercell accounts are fairly valuable, with maxed out accounts sometimes still going for hundreds of dollars. Of course, this does make them worthwhile targets for account traders looking for a quick buck. And here's the scary thing. These guys are able to get access to these accounts without even needing the email or password. Let's use Clash of Clans as an example, since account trading is so notorious on this game in particular. Instead of trying to crack your Gmail account, they'll instead just make a new Supercell account and contact support directly. They'll say something like, "Hey, I've lost my old account and I'm trying to recover it. The ID is blah blah blah." From there, all they have to do is try to convince the Supercell support staff that they own your account. This is done by giving vague, easily found details like the nationality, the town hall level, perhaps things like the base layout, any OG items, and things like that. And here's the issue: it's incredibly difficult for Supercell to tell the difference between a player who's actually lost access to their email and can't log in, and a hacker trying to take over the account. There are only so many questions that even the actual owner can answer, especially if the account is old. What this means is Supercell are basically having to take a guess as to whether or not the hacker is lying, and it's often very hard to tell, especially with how many young players there are on Supercell games. For example, it's perfectly feasible that an 8-year-old can't remember their email address, or equally a parent might not have a clue what their kid's email address is. By gaslighting Supercell, hundreds if not thousands of accounts per day are lost from hackers pretending to be players and taking them over by changing the email address and password. And the worst part is that there are groups of people out there who are trying to automate this process to make it easier than ever. There are tools out there for finding potential targets, and even chatbots which will do all of the dirty work by basically spamming Supercell support, with the hopes that eventually they gain access. As is the case with a lot of modern day hacking, it's not even really required to be super technically minded to be a scammer, since it's more about just telling a convincing story to Supercell support. Social engineering is a massive issue that's rife across the board in the tech world, and Supercell are by no means the only company facing big issues when it comes to people convincing support staff to let them in. I don't know if you remember the time when countless massive celebrities got their Twitter accounts broken into, but that was also mainly done through the same process of social engineering. And here's the even worse thing. Supercell knows a ton of people messaging their support teams are definitely not legit, so they do actually turn down a ton of recovery requests. This often means that if the original account owner goes to Supercell to try to get back their account from hackers, they might actually be turned away because Supercell has got it the wrong way round and think the hacker's the real owner and you're the hacker. It all gets very confusing, even though it's your account. Long story short, the last thing you want is to have to go to Supercell and beg for your account back. It can be really difficult to prove ownership in some cases, especially if the account details have just been reset, but don't worry just yet if this does happen. I have a couple of tips for how to get it back, as well as how to lower the chances of a hacker stealing your account in the first place. Firstly, if you've spent money on the game at any point, you should have a much higher chance of getting the account back. If you're able to go into Google Play or the App Store and find a receipt from Supercell, you've got way better odds of getting it back. By sending a legit receipt over to Supercell, or even ideally multiple if you have bought multiple things over the years, they should be more willing to listen and take you seriously. If you've got this information and can remember the original email address, account ID, and any other personally identifiable information, then you should be good. After all, Supercell want to make sure that their paying customers aren't going to permanently quit the game over this, since spenders are obviously how they make their money. Additionally, if you can accurately hand over the date of when the account was created or first installed, that's a massive help too. Another big help is if you've got two-factor authentication enabled. If you've got this, you should be able to tell support your phone number or recovery code, which again makes a big difference when it comes to proving that you're the real owner. But prevention is better than the cure, so let's quickly cover everything you can do to prevent your account from being taken by a trader looking to cash in. Firstly, there's the obvious. Don't message anyone in a Supercell game your email address. Whilst they might not need it to take the account, it's worth keeping it private where possible because it does make your account a lot easier to target if your email is easily connected to your Supercell ID. Speaking of Supercell IDs, I think it goes without saying that you should have connected your account to Supercell ID by now. The most easily broken into accounts are the ones with no Supercell ID, since it's the most plausible that you might have got a new device and have lost access. Right, moving on, you can also protect your Supercell ID if you have a phone number. Head over to your Supercell ID account settings and click Account Protection and then Activate. By doing this, every time a login is attempted by you or someone else, you'll need to enter a recovery code. This helps big time when it comes to stopping someone from trying to hack into your account directly, but it also does act as another bit of security since Supercell support should take this additional factor into account before they reset an account. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for everyone though. At the moment, I'm assuming for legal reasons, you aren't able to add a phone number for two-factor authentication if you have a young player account. If your date of birth is incorrect and it says that you're too young, which is stopping you from adding two-factor authentication to your account, then the best option is to try and talk to Supercell support about it and see if they can help. People skip through the age part all the time since there's no reason to think it would affect anything, meaning that a ton of accounts have got incorrect date of births added. It's a completely normal thing, and Supercell support are probably used to changing date of births. There is unfortunately also another caveat to this. If you're located in any of the following countries, you probably won't be able to add 2FA, since apparently Supercell no longer operates here. That's Belarus, Russia, China, Iran, Vietnam, Cuba, or, very unlikely, North Korea. And to be honest, that's the main thing you can do to try and protect yourself. There's no guarantee, but it's pretty much the best you can do. Adding a phone number is just the best way to, provide information to support. If you can hand them over your phone number, it's pretty much guaranteed. If you play Clash of Clans, it might be worth getting rid of anything which gives away the exact age of the account, like, for example, decorations going back to the year that you started the account. But hey, I don't really want to tell you to get rid of rare stuff, so that is 100% completely up to you. And even if you get rid of any rare OG decorations, there's still a chance that someone does just guess the age of your account correctly, so make of that what you will. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, is to be active on the account or accounts that you care about by playing somewhat regularly. Supercell support are going to have a much harder time buying the idea that you've suddenly somehow forgotten your account details if you've been playing fairly recently. Unfortunately, beyond what I've just mentioned, there isn't really much else you can do. In my opinion, Supercell at the moment is losing the war against hackers and scammers, and their account sharing and country moving detection software often seems to false flag legit players on two devices, whilst still sparing players on stolen accounts.